Hello goblins, it's Chris, Eldritch Pipes. It's an episode of this week's Pipes. I'm smoking some, if you can read that, it's Rich Dark Flake. Jermaine's Rich Dark Flake. Has to be one of my all-time favourite blends. It's a really ethereal, the taste is kind of like present but also kind of elusive as well. So you're just constantly sort of following it down a path, never quite catching up with it. It's the perfect daydreaming blend. That's the way I would put it. And I'm quite a prodigious daydreamer anyway, so it works with my temperament. All right. Things this week. First things. Next week, Tuesday in fact, 29th of August, it's my 50th birthday. Believe it or not, 50 years on planet Earth. More or less. Definitely 50 years, more or less on planet Earth. And there's a guy I talked to who's too generous by half. Travis, hi, sent me a box for my 50th. And I thought I would open it here. Why not? I think it deserves it. Now it says, Magic the Gathering collectibles. And the funny thing is, from Travis, it might well be, but it's also an exceedingly good cover for all of our mutual interests. So bear with me. It's quite taped up. Oh look. You see, paid in full. I was a little worried. It did get stopped by customs, but the Magic the Gathering collectible title meant it was very lenient. I almost paid for it gratefully. Oh right, like that is it. I'm going to be going a bit carefully. I don't want to slice through anything inside. Although if I know Travis, it's well protected inside. All right, we're open. Some packaging. All right. It looks like I've got 3 things here. Here's one of 3. It's a tin of tobacco. Doesn't feel like Magic the Gathering cards to me at the moment. Unless you've put them in tobacco tins. Aha! Dark Flake, Dunhill era Dark Flake. Aged Dunhill Dark Flake from December 16. So we're what, like we're like 7 years old? Yum. Wow. That's going to be good. Now, I don't even know if I don't know if I can open that one just yet. I might have to leave that one. What are we, 23? Leave it for till 2026, till it's 10 years old. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see, I don't know. Package number 2. Oh, another similar profile. Wow! Awesome. That's awesomely awesome. That's quite naughty, but yeah. Well, I mean, gratefully received. I must be on the dregs of my Tilbury jar. Must be on the dregs. I will open that one. Yeah, I have no qualms about opening Tilbury. That will open and get smoked. All right. Last one. This one's a bit different. This one's okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. I would say, so Frogmorton on the town people. That's my jam right there. Well, I probably fell in love with this blend before. This was probably one of the first blends that I fell in love with. It was one of those, even at the time, it was quite hard for a chap in the UK to get hold of this stuff. And this is the kind of thing that I used to get every birthday and every Christmas. It was that kind of thing. I haven't had it. Actually, I was gifted a jar. Oh, I'm going to embarrass myself now. By a really lovely gent. A year, maybe 2 ago. And that was like heaven. And now, oh God, do I open that? I'm going to have to think about that one. I think Because I smoked the last one because it was already open. He'd jarred it, so I thought there's no point holding on to this. I'm just smoking it, and I smoked it. That one's in a sealed can. I gotta think long and hard about what to do about that. All right. Thank you so much, Travis. That was amazing. I've got some moral ethical quandaries ahead of me, to open or not to open. That's the question. Generally, I'm in the camp of tobacco is to be smoked, pipes are to be smoked. That's my philosophy. So I will probably smoke them at some point. I'm not a hoarder in that sense, or I don't keep things for prosperity. I think things are to be enjoyed, right? Right? Things are made for us to enjoy. All right. Now, on another tack, I was watching a series on the BBC, all to do with the Troubles in Ireland. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the history of the Troubles, as they call them. I have quite a unique perspective on it, in that my family is both from the north and the south of Ireland. Technically, I have a bit of English in me, a small bit of English, because my granddad was a Yorkshireman. But my dad and his family came over from Tipperary, which is deep south in Ireland, far away from the north-south border. Derry, or Londonderry, depending on which side you come from, which was like the hot spot. So they were nowhere near. And anyway, they came over to England when my dad was a little boy. So by my calculations, probably sometime in the 40s or 50s. And the Troubles probably started in the 60s. So, but he met my mum, and my mum's mum, my nan, is Northern Irish. So you can imagine there was a bit of consternation between the mum and dad's, my mum and dad's mum and dad, when they got together. It was like, oh, getting together with is Romeo and Juliet coming from opposite sides of the dividing line. So I watched them, and it's both fascinating and terrible, truly terrible. But I just thought, well, that's really interesting that I can sort of stand back and look at it. Literally, I can see both sides. And I sympathise with both sides as well. And also just wish that they had resolved it so much earlier. And it seems to be that the real trouble of the Troubles was that when the rioting started, mainly the Catholics, because they were mostly working class, and so were being denied the vote. Because you could only vote if you owned your house, and a lot of Catholics didn't own their houses. A lot of Protestants did. And so, when those kind of like civil riots over civil rights started, and they kind of really heated up, the police just weren't equipped to handle it. And so they brought in the British Army, and everything went to hell. Before that, it was unarmed conflict, which, although was not good, you could say it was somewhat contained. Once the British Army came in, and the Republicans were facing an armed response, they got armed up, and it was just hell. And of course, although they were really railing at the powers that be, the only people they could take it out on, the only visible people, were each other and the British Army. And so just like, it was nasty, very nasty. And you know, once personal wounds have occurred, then it's just vendettas and counter vendettas, and it's just awful. But really tremendously interesting as well. So have a look. The Troubles, I think it's called, on the BBC. All right. Before we get into the pipes of this week, I was playing with a different finish. Well, a different look. It's kind of like a metal leaf. Well, it is a metal leaf, but it's a variegated metal leaf. I was just trying it on this test piece. Isn't that wild? It's gold, but you can see like blue and greens and yellows in it and orange. It's just like, I feel I've got a place for that. I'm sure I can do something with that. Anyway, right. This week's pipe plans did not go to plan. I was going to do 3 freehand pipes. That is, like, rather than going from my templates, just drew on the pipes, designed them on the block, and I was just going to rusticate the hell out of them and just have 3 kind of like wild pipes. Well, I guess because I decided to do that, 2 of them turned out smooth, which is like, in 1 week, that's unheard of. Let's have a look at them. If you're familiar with my shroom shapes, this is kind of influenced by them. So it's a slightly tamed version of a shroom. Like I say, it was going to get rusticated, but it turned out smooth. So I've never done that shape smooth, neither. Bunch of plateau on the rim. Just a nice yellow and chocolate and yellow contrast. You got the straight grain going up there. You have the straight grain running down the shank. Really nice sort of deep undercut, which is always fun to try and polish. And going with this kind of stepped, this saddle taper stem, if you like, in the old earth and ivory. Isn't that nice? Was such an interesting one to go with the undercut. It made the entire process kind of challenging, but I was ready for it. Normally with the shroom shape, because I'm carving, and the Dremel tool is like, can get in there with no problem. That's one thing, but to be sanding down in there, had to be painstaking is the word. So, smooth shroom. The first of its kind. The next one kind of morphed on me. It was going to be a wide-shanked bulldog, but I tinkered with it and it ended up being rather Eskimo-ish. So it's not exactly an Eskimo. The bowl's a little tall for the profile of an Eskimo. I think you'd normally expect it to come up so high, and obviously this is it's like a deep bold Eskimo. Just a black and orange contrast stain here. Really nice. It's just got the straight grain flowing around up the bowl. Lovely, like wide, flattish, rounded off, but just a nice surface for the bird's eye. Ton of plateau. And then the burnt orange swirl stem. That's so. The more I do that, the easier that part's been getting. So sort of like quite a nice taper going down there, and then tapering in, pretty much all the way from the bowl width right down to the button. Pleased with him. Nice bit of uneven plateau. Yeah. And the last one. I don't know what to call him. I haven't come up with a name. Technically, I suppose, in one sense, it's a Dublin because of it more or less tapers from rim to chin, if you want to call it that. I suppose in some ways it's like a huge acorn. Although I think if it was really an acorn, the largest point would be a little bit lower, probably somewhere down there maybe. So that it would have quite a narrow rim, which is more how I think of acorns. Pretty heavily rusticated. Super deep bowl. Super deep bowl. I don't know how deep that is. It must be over 2 inches easy. Easy, I reckon. And done with a moss green stem, but done with quite the top part, so you can see it's sort of nearly all black with a few speckles, and then starts to come in as we go down the stem. Now I've been playing with trying to keep the Cumberland more consistent, but on this particular pipe I'm actually more than happy with its subtlety. I really want to give it a go myself. All right. Rusticated. Still don't know what to call it. All right. That's all my pipes. And that's it from me. Gosh. I've rattled on. Okay. I'm not sure if I will be back next week. 'Tis my birthday. I don't think I'm planning on doing too much next week except celebrating. So I'll be doing that. If I'm not back next week, I'll almost certainly be here the week after. 1 year older. All right. Till next time, take it very easy. Your loyal pipe maker.